Alright, so I am TD Communist, and I am a new player to League. As you can see, I am still only level 25. So recently, I've become obsessed with League. I've been playing it a lot with my friends, and just like most of my friends, we are all completely new to League. This is my main account. Unlike them, though, I have taken a lot of time to try and understand runes, because I like to optimize my gameplay. And this is specifically for two of my friends. They have not been able to spend the time to learn how all the runes work and their effects. So, since they were playing with just the basic rune builds, I wanted to help them understand and be able to build runes for champions. I want to warn, like, I am not qualified at all, since I'm so new to the game, make this guide, but going online and learning runes for myself was so difficult. All I could find were hour-long videos that were outdated or didn't even cover the information that I cared about. The short videos just had nothing in them. It's extremely hard to find a competent guide on runes. So my goal with this video is to go over all 5 main rune families, talk a bit about the runes and keystones themselves, and explain how you can build your own rune pages based off of your knowledge of what runes do. Um, because these are my two friends' mains, I will also at the end build a page specifically for Darius top and Yasuo mid. Top and mid refers to the lanes they go. Darius is a top laner, so that means on the map you go to the top lane, and Yasuo is a mid laner. So first, to cover just the easiest way out of making runes yourself, if you just go to a website called u.gg, just like literally type that in the search bar, u.gg, you will be sent to a website for League of Legends. Uh, then if you just search the champion you want, for example, Darius, you get a rune build that's ideal. That's considered ideal by the pro players. You get like the items you should build, win rate, all of that, which is very useful and all, but it's always better to build runes yourself. And even if you don't build them yourself, it's best to understand what the runes do. Because, for example, like you're going to have runes that have effects, for example, like Last Stand. I'll explain this more in depth later, but Last Stand increases your damage when you are at low health. And if you don't know you have this rune, like you're just going to heal as soon as possible. But if you know you have Last Stand, you can delay your heal, do more damage, and then heal so that you get more damage before you're able to heal. So yeah, it's just good to know the effects. Going Now, let's talk about the runes themselves. If you go to your collection, you can just see runes in this tab. First thing you're going to notice, this button. You're going to have these 5 preset pages. They are trash. Never use them. Click this button to hide them. As you can see, I have 2 custom rune pages right now. This is for my fiddlesticks, and this is my custom Amumu support, which is terrible, but it's very fun, so I like it. And I have 2 out of 3 rune pages, so I can create a new one. If I click on this, there are 5 rune families: Precision, Domination, Sorcery, Resolve, and Inspiration. These symbols you see down here are the keystones. When you choose a main rune family, you get to choose one of these keystones, go with that rune family, and get the main effect. This is basically your most powerful rune. Um, let's choose, for example, a Domination rune. This is what I use for Fiddlesticks, Electrocute. After you choose your main rune family, and your keystone, I can switch it if I want to. I get to choose here 3 different runes. So from the top row, the second row, and the last row. And then I can choose a secondary rune and 2 runes of 2 different rows. So I can't choose 2 runes for the same row, but I can choose this one. Now I can't choose any of these, but I can choose this one, for example. And finally, you're allowed to have 3 just flat stat buffs. Like these just give attack stats or ability haste. This is just like defense or magic resist. I'll explain all those later. Um, so let's get rid of this and talk about the rune families overall. Precision is, you can ignore this become a legend text. What you care about this, improved damage and sustained, improved attacks and sustained damage. This means that the point of precision is long fights. We'll talk about this more when we get to like the actual rune pages, but spoiler, this is what you want to use for Darius, or even also Yasuo, because the point of them is you want to stay in the fight for a long time and deal more damage as the fight ramps up. Domination is the opposite. I use this on Fiddlesticks with Electrocute because it is about burst damage. I can get into a fight, do a lot of damage, and kill the enemy quickly. But if the fight continues, because I don't have like lasting damage, it's all a short burst, I will lose. Yeah, Domination is also great as a secondary rune tree because as a secondary rune tree, as a rune family, you can get healing based off the damage you do. For high damage dealers, this is a great secondary rune. Sorcery is about increasing your impact as a mage. This gives you more mana, more spell power, and this all helps champions with small mana pools or like just high mana usage generally have more spell uptime, and then these spells also do. This affects both high magic damage characters such as Vhagar, but also like support abilities through, for example, the Summon Aerie. This is a support keystone, while Arcane Comet damage keystone. Phase Rush, as well as certain runes in the sorcery family, also can give you unique movement speed or also utility, which makes it just an all-around good rune set for anybody looking for mana or magic damage or just like ramping stats. Resolve is the tank tree. Um, by that, I mean that it'll give you a lot of just flat defensive stats, defense, magic resist. Um, Compared to Domination, Domination has a lot of healing based off of your damage. Resolve is more healing or even damage based off of your health or defense. Um, this is a great secondary rune, similar to Domination, but like it's the tanky counterpart. So when Domination gives you healing based off your damage, Resolve will give you healing based off of your health. So like if you are a tankier champion, this is a good secondary rune. Or like for tanky supports such as Tom Kench, it's like a big frog that's also big frog, slug, some sort of big guy on defense. Like some big tanky support. Um, this is great with him, for example. Finally, Inspiration is more of a joker in the rune families. It has no like set effects. Here, what it says like creative tools and rule bending. This refers to how, for example, the Unsealed Spellbook keystone. This lets you just switch your spells like Flash, Ignite, whatever spells you have. You can switch them in game to try and gain an advantage. Um, it's very gimmicky. I use it on Fiddlesticks so that I can save 650 gold every game, which is really good in the mid game, and I can also just get more summoner spell haste, so that means like I can use my smite more often, which is very useful. It's just also a very weird, like it's the weirdest of the runes, so it's just kind of awkward to use. And most of the time, like just I don't recommend it anyways. It's just a very strange. Now let's talk about actually building rune pages. So for Darius, we talked about precision and how Darius is a top laner. This is all about your mentality. So you know Darius, you play Darius, is the assumption we're making. Darius is tanky, he's a melee fighter, and he's a top laner. These things combined, like, should put you in the mindset, because I'm tanky and have a passive that does damage over time, I have high damage, and I'm a melee, what I need is healing so that I don't die before I can get to the enemy. I need... And I also just, like, need general damage upgrades, because that's what I want to do. I want to do a lot of damage. So, precision is the ideal family. Now, looking at the keystones, let's go through the process of elimination. We said we want both healing and damage. Press the attack gives you a lot of damage, but it requires you to stay on top of your target, which can be... It's not impossible for Darius. Darius has a W, which slows the enemy. So, like, that does help a lot to stay on your target, and... yeah, I can also use, like, Stride Breaker as a mythic item, which has a slow. But, it's not ideal because there's no healing in it. Fleet Footwork is the opposite. It's only healing. So, we don't really want that. Lethal Tempo is like press the attack. It's just damage, no real healing. And also, this only increases your basic attack speed, not your spells or abilities, and about half, if not more, sorry, of Darius's damage is going to come from his abilities instead of his basic attacks. So, Conqueror here, conveniently, has ramping damage, as you can see through Adaptive Force. Adaptive Force means it'll go either to your attack damage or your ability damage, whichever one is higher. So because Darius builds attack damage will be higher, so that means you get 2 to 5 attack damage up to 12 times, and then when at full stacks, you heal for 9% of your damage, which is a lot of healing. Since Darius is a high damage. So this means that when you get to your enemy and you start piling on the damage, you'll heal for a portion of it, so that's a deal for us. Now, let's just quickly go through the runes. Remember what we said, Darius is going to get damage because he's melee, and he's tanky. So, we want to go for Triumph here because we don't need mana, and we don't have any way of overhealing over our max health. We are always going to be partially damaged, and our Q, which is our only heal, is not going to be used when we're at full health. It's not possible to use it when we're at full health. We basically need to be damaged. So this is useless. This is what we want. Secondly, out of these legends, these build up as you like progress in the game. So Tenacity would be a good one, but this one gives you attack speed, which just means more damage, and we can get Tenacity from a different source. So permanent attack speed is amazing on Darius. You don't build much attack speed, so you don't need to be worried about hitting the attack speed cap, and it'll just translate into a lot of damage. Finally, for this last set of runes here, we want to take Last Stand, because we are tanky, so Cut Down doesn't make any sense. We're usually going to be tankier than our enemy, or like about as tanky. Coup de Grace is similar to Last Stand in effectiveness, but see, this triggers earlier when you're only at 60% instead of when the enemy's at 40%, and it ramps up to a higher number, so you're going to generally get more damage out of Last Stand. As a secondary rune, as we discussed when talking about like just general runes, Resolve is a good secondary rune for tanky champions like Darius, and as I literally just said for the legend runes, we can get Tenacity from this rune, Unflinching. This will give you 10% Tenacity and Slow Resist. Tenacity, if you do not know, means that stuns, slows, any effect that like restricts your movement or impairs your movement, except for Knockup, I believe, gets reduced. So say you have, like, say an enemy stuns you for 1 second. With 10% Tenacity from this, it's 0.9 seconds instead of 1 second, which is, like, it adds up over the game, and a lot of enemies have CC, especially slows. Like, this is most effective against slows. So this is just a really powerful rune. And then, as our secondary rune, this This is a personal choice. Bone plating is what most people will tell you is the best rune. Um, I don't like it much. It's not that much damage reduction. It's good against burst damage, which is dangerous, but it's on a 45-second cooldown, and at most, at level 18, it is 180 damage. At level 1, it's only 90. So, it's not that much damage reduction. Second Wind is really good, and so is Conditioning. I would generally say Conditioning is better because you are going to get in the melee fights. Second Wind would be better if you're getting chipped away by ranged enemies. Yeah, it's like a matchup choice, and I do not have the experience to say which one is generally better. But in my opinion, Conditioning is better. Although, like, yeah, if you struggle in the early game more, Second Wind would definitely be better because this triggers immediately in the game. You need to wait 12 minutes for this to spike. When it spikes, you get a really powerful power spike. And then finally, to like the base stats, it seems to be pretty simple. As I said, Darius doesn't build much attack speed, so offense is helpful. 10% attack speed, yeah, you don't need to worry about hitting the cap. It's just flat damage. Why would you not want it? Darius, since Darius is a damage dealer, you don't really want the defenses, you want the damage. So Adaptive Force is just going to translate into more physical damage. And then finally, as your defensive stat, you're usually just going to want the 6 armor. There aren't that many top lane magic damagers. Like, if you know before your game that you're going to be up against, say, a Mordekaiser in the top lane, because that is a magic damager, you should switch your rune over to magic resist, but here you just want to take defense. You can just name it Darius, Isle, save, and there you go. That's how you make a basic rune page for Darius. Now for Yasuo mid, it's very much the same process. That's just this page. Create new. Again, we're just going to go straight for Conqueror. The only difference between Darius and Yasuo is that Yasuo is frailer and does more damage. And then on top of that, so like Darius is a lot tankier, has a lot more tank to damage ratio, while Yasuo has a lot more damage to tank. And then on top of that, Yasuo is going to be at a higher percentage of max HP than Darius, because Yasuo has a shield that protects him passively, like it's his passive ability. So, like, the first couple hits you're going to take, you're not going to take any percent health damage, really. And on top of that, you don't have a built-in heal. So, in this case, Conqueror is even more important, like the healing from it, because in your kit as Yasuo, you don't have any healing. Darius has his Q, which heals for 15% of your max HP per enemy hit, up to 45%. Like, that is a lot of healing. Yasuo does not have access to that. So we're just going to click Conquer again. Similarly to Darius, we don't need mana. Yasuo actually doesn't even have mana, so there's no point. And as I just said, Yasuo doesn't have any healing, so this is useless. Triumph, a 12% heal is insane, especially since Yasuo has no healing, and 20 gold is just free. Next, again, there's no point. Well, actually, there can be an argument for taking Tenacity, but the attack speed is just so powerful in Yasuo that you want to take it. And then the only difference between Darius and Yasuo here is going to be you're going to take Coup de Grace, the Blast Stand, because as I just explained, Yasuo will generally be on a higher health percentage, so compared to his enemies. So Coup de Grace is going to give you more damage generally. Next, as your secondary runes, I would honestly say Domination. Domination is really good. As I explained back when I was just saying the general family trees, Domination gives you healing on damage, and as I just said, Yasuo has a lot more damage than tankiness. So here, if we take Ravenous Hunter, which gives you Omnivamp, you're going to get a lot more healing from that, while Darius would get a lot more out of well, not more healing, but he already has healing built into his Q, so he can get more overall tankiness from the defense and magic resist from conditioning. While here, this like helps you stay alive a lot in a fight. And same with Taste of Blood. This is on a 20-second cooldown. Unlike this is just permanent healing. But Taste of Blood heals a lot. So it's just really useful. And then, again, similar to Darius, you're going to want the attack speed because you're a damage dealer. You don't want any defensive stats here. You're going to want more damage. And then for your defensive stat, in the mid lane, unlike Darius, top lane is a lot of physical damage dealer. Mid lane, you're scared of ganks, which can be magic type, and you're also scared of magic type mid laners. So the A magic resist is preferable to 6 defense. And yeah, that's about it. I hope this helped to any degree to the two idiots I'm making this video for, and I don't really expect anyone other than them to watch this, but hopefully this helps. I just want to play League with them. Happy days. Bye-bye.